Who was the founder of the Jehovah's Witnesses? Well, if you ask them, it wasn't Charles Russell. It was Jesus. Hey guys, welcome to my channel, K Fits My Life. So I'm starting a new series called straightfromjw.org, where I'm going to analyze some of the frequently asked questions on the jw.org website. Excuse the noise in the background. They're building condos across the street from my house, so there may be a little background noise. That's what it is. So getting back to it, I thought we would start with this one on the jw.org website, and of course I'll share what I'm looking at on the screen. But this one is, who was the founder of Jehovah's Witnesses? Now, as I said in the clip at the beginning, they claim that Charles Taze Russell was not the founder of Jehovah's Witnesses, but that Jesus was. So we're going to look at this article, and then I'm going to present a little bit of information that shows that Russell was the founder of this organization. And then maybe we'll talk about why they're trying to separate themselves from Russell as the founder of the organization. All right, so let's get to it. Who was the founder of Jehovah's Witnesses? The modern day organization of Jehovah's Witnesses began at the end of the 19th century. At that time, a small group of Bible students who lived near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the United States, began a systematic analysis of the Bible. They compared the doctrines taught by the churches with what the Bible really teaches. They began publishing what they learned in books, newspapers, and the journal that is now called the Watchtower, announcing Jehovah's Kingdom. Among that group of sincere Bible students was a man named Charles Taze Russell. While Russell took the lead in the Bible education work at that time and was the first editor of the Watchtower, he was not the founder of a new religion. The goal of Russell and the other Bible students, as the group was then known, was to promote the teachings of Jesus Christ and to follow the practices of the first century Christian congregation. Since Jesus is the founder of Christianity, we view him as the founder of our organization. Now, Colossians 1:18-20 that they cite says, "And he is the head of the body, the congregation. He is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, so that he might become the one who is first in all things, because God was pleased to have all fullness to dwell in him, and through him to reconcile to himself all other things, by making peace through the blood he shed on the torture stake." We'll touch on that in 1 second too. Whether the things on the earth or the things in the heavens. And again, I'm reading that straight from their Bible off of their website. This part is all about what they said from their publications. All right. So now let's look at who Charles Taze Russell was and how he actually founded the Watchtower Bible Tract Society and the Jehovah's Witnesses. So we're going to go to encyclopedia.com and look at who Charles Russell was. So this first paragraph, I'll put it on the screen as well. Charles Taze Russell was born on February 16th, 1852 in Pittsburgh. His parents awed him at an early age with grim tales of hellfire and damnation. While helping his father build the family chain of clothing stores, Russell began to question the validity of including the concept of eternal damnation in Christian dogma. Bible study, fascination with the Millerite or Adventist movement, and his own inability to reconcile hell with the Christian concept of mercy caused him to develop a personal theology, which he began to teach others. Now, this is one reason why I think that they try to separate themselves, the Watchtower, from Charles Russell, because this shows that he looked at the Bible and said, I don't agree with the Bible. I have my own ideas, and so I'm going to develop my own theology and teach that, which shows that he was not inspired in any way. He just came up with his own ideas and taught them. Now, the Watchtower also says they weren't inspired, but at the same time, if they latch on to somebody who we're going to see was a false prophet and did a lot of things or made a lot of predictions based on the Bible that failed to come true, it is going to cast a negative light on them. And as we're going to see as well, Charles Russell was a bit of a charlatan. So you can't have someone who was a proven charlatan be the founder of your religion, because that's going to cast a very negative light on your religion. So let's read a little bit more about Pastor Russell. And yes, he was known as Pastor Russell. With the help of tutors, Russell managed to master the use of Hebrew and Greek dictionaries to study the Bible, and he formed his first Bible classes in 1872. With N.H. Barber of Rochester, NY, Russell published 3 Worlds and the Harvest of the World in 1877. Basing his judgment on complex biblical calculations, he preached from 1877 that Christ's invisible return had occurred in 1874, and that the end of the Gentile times and the beginning of a golden age would come in 1914, followed by a war between capitalism and communism or socialism, after which God's kingdom by Christ would rule the earth. Now that, if anyone who knows anything about Jehovah's Witnesses, 1914 is a very pivotal date in their whole theology. And this is where that date came from. It came from Charles Russell, who predicted that the end of the world basically would happen in 1914 and that Jesus Christ would be ruling the entire world. Well, that didn't happen. That was his first failed prediction. And so in order to save face, he and the entire organization to this day had to backtrack and come up with a new way to explain 1914. So let's continue. Russell dedicated his life and his fortune to preaching Christ's millennial reign. In 1879, he started a Bible journal called The Watchtower, and in 1884, he founded the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, which became an extensive publishing business. Now you have to think about this, guys. The Watchtower makes most of its money, or has made most of its money, selling books. They're basically a bookstore. They're a publishing business. They sell books, and that's where their money predominantly has come from, with the exception of now, real estate acquisitions and things, and other investments. But at this time, the bulk of their income came from publishing and selling books. And this corporation was founded in 1884. His own books and booklets, notably 7 volumes of studies in the scriptures, reached a circulation of 16 million copies in 35 languages, and 2,000 newspapers published weekly sermons. He was president of the society until his death. So again, we see right here that Charles Russell founded the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society in 1884. But again, if you look at their website, they say he was not the founder, but he did. So they're being very disingenuous by saying that he was not the founder of a new religion when he obviously was. So what are they doing? Why are they saying that he was not the founder? And as I said earlier, it has to be because they're trying to separate themselves from him because of something that he had done. Now, there were several things that happened with Charles Russell or Pastor Russell, and I'll put a picture on the screen to prove that. Here's his tombstone where they called him Pastor Russell. But there are several things that happened with him that would cause them to have to separate themselves from them if they're going to say or try to prove that they are the one true religion. Let's look at some of the things that happened with him. So going back to encyclopedia.com, Russell started encountering problems. After 1900, Russell encountered agonizing problems. His wife, Maria Frances Ackley, left him in 1897 after 18 years of childless marriage amid tension over her role as associate editor of The Watchtower. In 1903, she sued for divorce, and a scandalous case involving accusations of alleged affairs between Russell and women parishioners was dragged through the courts. In 1909, Russell moved his headquarters to Brooklyn, New York City, where the Watchtower remained for several years, like 100 years, like a literal 100 years. In 1911, the Brooklyn Eagle charged the pastor with profiteering in the church's sale of miracle wheat to members who were told it would produce fantastic yields. In 1914, the long-awaited end of the age of the Gentiles did not materialize, forcing Russell to revise his texts. Now, again, that is something that still happens today in the same organization. Russell had to revise his text because his predictions did not turn out the same way. The Watchtowers today has still had to revise texts because their predictions didn't work out. So let's look at one more thing. Here is a picture of Charles Russell's tombstone, and behind it there's a pyramid, and on that pyramid there is a picture of a crown and a cross, and underneath that it says Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. Now, a lot of people who are current Jehovah's Witnesses don't know that they used to have pictures of crosses in their materials. They did have and support the teachings of the cross. And as you see on this gravestone, the Watchtower even put a picture of a cross on Russell's tombstone. So that begs the question, okay, is this another reason why they're trying to separate themselves from Charles Russell? Because back then, they were supporting the cross. Now, for an organization that says it is the one true religion on earth and that Jehovah God himself is supporting their religion, now they say that Jesus died on a stake, not a cross. So how can an organization that says it is being directly directed by God himself in one breath say God is directing this organization and he allows us to use the cross, and then years later say, well, God has shown us that Jesus didn't die on a cross, he died on a stake? So that would ask us to believe that God, who is directly over this organization would allow them to incorrectly interpret the death, the most important event according to the Bible in human history, of Jesus dying for everyone's sins, that God would allow his personal organization to incorrectly interpret the way Jesus died. That makes absolutely no sense. If there was one thing that, if God had one organization on the earth that he was personally directing, if there was one thing that I don't think he would allow them to get wrong, it would be how Jesus died. So the fact that they're going, or have gone away from the cross and have gone to a stake, with Russell's own publications having crosses on them, his own tombstone having crosses on them, and those things were done by the Watchtower, they would have to disassociate themselves from him simply to get away from the old teachings that are obviously in direct conflict with what they teach now. The issue is just really the internet. The internet is killing this organization, because these are things, I was in this organization for 25 years and I didn't know any of this stuff. And the only reason that we know now is because people have the ability to say, hey, I know this, and allow me to share this information with you. So now that all these other truths are coming out about this organization, I believe they've had to start to try to backtrack and separate themselves from a lot of the falsehoods to be able to keep current members and to draw in new members. If everyone knows all this stuff, then they won't be able to recruit new members, which is why I think they are so insistent upon people not really researching things on the internet. So I think I'm going to wrap this up. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that this is one of the reasons why they're separating themselves from Charles Russell? Or why do you think they are separating themselves from him? Do you have any other theories about that? Let me know in the comments section. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, subscribe. You can follow me on all social media. I'll put in links to the bottom. And again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one, all right? Peace.